You're going to get a lot of texts back and forth, but what's the point if there's no emotion and no connection at the end of the day? Like you would have. When I first started dating, I had a huge problem with texting girls. One way or another, I would end up texting a girl, and the conversations either went nowhere and fizzled out after a few messages, or dragged on to perpetuity without anything really happening. And there was always a feeling of zero emotional investment from the girl's side. And at the same time, I felt that I could not really express myself in a way that made things fun and interesting. It was like, what did you do yesterday and what I'm going to do today, and very dry conversations that they felt wrong. And they were wrong because they did not go anywhere, and I never actually ended up dating these girls or even going out with them at all. So, if you have problems like this, if you don't really know what to say over text or how to escalate things to a date, then listen up because I'm going to reveal the 6 steps you need to take in order to do that. First thing I stopped doing, and it helped me tremendously, and I'm saying this because I see tons of guys doing it, is talking about your problems. And it's logical because when you don't really have anything to talk about and you're in your head trying to think of conversation topics, then an obvious one is talking about problems because of 2 reasons. First of all, problems is something that you do have, and it's kind of socially acceptable to talk about, I guess. And also, they evoke some kind of response from the girl, or at least you hope they will, because you subconsciously believe it's going to make her maybe sympathize with you or feel some kind of way for you. But that is completely wrong. Because think about it, like you don't really know this girl, she does not owe you anything, so why the hell is she entering in the bad vibes you are pushing on her by talking about problems? Who wants to talk about problems? Like I never befriend guys that talk about their problems, and I should never do talk about problems with girls anymore. Talking about problems is just a surefire way to create a heavy emotional environment that justifiably so the girl does not want to engage with. The second key point is that we should never talk for the sake of talking. Texting, especially when you're starting out dating girls, is something that you might get excited about. You get a text and you're girly and sick. You get excited, and of course that's because you did not have it before. But it does not mean that every time you get a text it is good, and it does not mean that the more you text with a girl it's better. And that ties in perfectly with not talking for the sake of talking, because asking stupid random questions just to fill up space and to continue a conversation is just making things less emotional and less interesting for the girl and also for you. Be honest, aside from the dopamine hit you get from getting a message from the girl, the conversation by itself it's boring when you just come up with stupid things to just fill up space. So just don't do that. And you might be wondering, all right, so if a conversation seems to be heading to an end, what do I do then? Then you don't continue the conversation. And that does not mean that you stop texting with this girl completely. It just means that maybe today she asks me what I'm going to do today, and I'm going out, and I just tell her that, and she tells me to have fun, and I don't feel the urge to come up with something to continue that conversation. I just let it die down, especially if you are at a high point. That's the best point to cut a conversation short, and you re-engage with that conversation with that girl on a different day with a different topic. Maybe the next morning you just talk about something completely different. Maybe she responds to one of your stories, or maybe you respond to one of hers, or whatever. The point is, do not talk for the sake of talking. As I'm scraping more and more things out of what you are already talking about with the girl, you might stand to wonder, so, Theo, what the hell should I talk about with a girl? And that's a valid question that I used to have myself. And the answer is you're not going to really find it on YouTube because it's not really easy to create. Most people are going to try and come up with the 6 topics to talk with a girl about, but that's all lame and don't even get me started. But the point is that what you talk about with a girl matters completely zero. What actually is the point of talking to a girl is to create emotions and for the both of you to have emotions together, because having emotions together at the same time with a girl is what actually going to make a bond between you, and it's actually going to escalate things. So the only thing you do when talking to a girl over text is the equivalent of shit posting. Like you might have heard of push and pull. You pretty much have banter with the girl about the stupidest things you can imagine, and the other part that you do that is equally as interesting and important is storytelling. And storytelling over text is a bit different than storytelling in real life. You have to keep it a bit shorter. You might also want to use voice notes for storytelling, but a short story here and there can really showcase your personality and why you are an interesting person. And of course, you might not really have stories to tell. That's a different problem, but we're going to touch on that a bit later. But what you talk with a girl about has to be 0% serious topics. I get some guys that even talk about like politics and social issues and stupid shit like that. Maybe they care about them, maybe they don't, but the point is that it's not the time to do that, especially over text. And with girls in general, you should have a light vibe where you go back and forth teasing each other, and that leads to more emotion, more escalation, and the other kinds of conversations where you actually talk about something serious. They do not really have a place there because yes, you're going to get a lot of texts back and forth, but what's the point if there's no emotion and no connection at the end of the day? You could have that conversation with a friend, and you've probably had more conversations with that friend about the topics. You're more familiar with each other's opinions, it's more interesting. Why? The only reason you talk about serious topics with a girl is because you don't have what to say. So just that feeling when you send text and it's kind of risky, and you wonder afterwards, should I send that text or should I not send it? Well, at every specific time you send that text, maybe it's a good one, maybe it's a bad one, but the more you go with those risky texts, the more you are actually calibrating yourself to banter and to the back and forth of things. So just go with the back and forth, and of course, at first you might fail because you're not calibrated. Add some stories, and over time, it's going to get better and better the more girls you text with, and it's actually the orthodox, the right way to do things. Skip the serious stuff altogether. Following up on the first point is the fourth one, and it's simply, I repeat, do not try to talk about her problems. Even if the girl like sprinkles in a problem she's having, a lot of girls today might even like talk about mental health and things like that, or maybe something that happened with an ex, etc. Some kind of their problem. You might be tempted to grab on hold of that topic because she's a bit more emotionally invested in that, and you will have a lot of conversation to do with her on that topic. But that's bullshit also, because the first rule of human relationships is just good vibes. If the vibes are bad, what's the point of interacting with a person? And guess fucking what? Talking about and ruminating about problems she's having does not create a good vibe. And yes, she might go back and forth with you on that topic, but afterwards, she is not going to think to herself, oh, I had fun talking to this guy. She's going to be left with pretty much a bad, heavy feeling that you do not want associated with you. So just keep talking about your problems completely. And for God's sake, do not try to evoke her to talk about her problems if she does not come up with them. And even if she comes up in the conversation with her problems, try to change subject politely as fast as you can because there's no point engaging with it. The fifth point is probably the classic question of how often should I text a girl? And I've got two answers here. One is the straight up answer, and the other thing is what you're going to do right now. And of course, what I do and what you are going to do eventually is you're going to have an actual life. Because, for example, now I might talk to a girl that I don't even really know. Maybe we met like outside or on Tinder. We haven't really exchanged messages. There's no history between us. And I might just text her 5 times, like go back and forth in seconds. She answers, I answer, she answer, I answer, and then not text her for 7 hours. And that's no like stupid trick I do. It's just that I have a lot of things I do. So when I actually get a hold of my phone and respond back, maybe I'm on my phone for 5 minutes, I'm going to respond like instantly. But then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to work on my business, go out, whatever, and then I ghost them for several hours. And that creates a natural feeling for the girl that I am engaged with the conversation, but I'm also not like needy, where you just wait above your phone for the girl to text you back and you always reply instantly, but you don't also want to be the guy that never replies. Because I have done that and it does not go well. At times when I work too much and I respond to a girl like once a day, that does not go anywhere, especially if you have not met before. So just keep a balance by having a life. Because if you stay in your house playing video games all day or some stupid shit, then you're going to be overly excited about texting the girl back and you're going to always text back. And she's going to get a vibe that this guy does not have a life. And girls don't like that. They want to be part of your life, not be like the focus point of your life. But what if you don't have a life? What do you do then? Because fake it till you make it works. So maybe right now you don't have a life, but if you start getting girls, then you get more motivated, then you do business, then you work out more, etc. Then you have a life pretty much. But until then, just try and match the response times she does. It's kind of stupid, and you're going to look at it after a few years and laugh with the tricks you did, but it's better than responding instantly every time. So if you don't have a life, just respond with the same intervals she responds to. Last but most important of all, a text conversation has to have an end in mind. So, the 6 points are: never talk about your problems. Do not talk for the sake of talking. Always avoid serious topics of conversation and stick to banter and storytelling. Never try to talk about her problems. Respond in intervals based on having a life, or if you don't have a life, respond in intervals corresponding to her intervals of responding. And the conversation should always have an end goal in mind that you progress towards. That's all for today. If you want to know about any other topics on dating, leave a comment below and I might just make it happen. Just don't be a bitch.